The Scottish National Party and Nicola Sturgeon are going to beg the Supreme Court to allow them to have another referendum on the Scottish independence or isolation. This is a big week for the SNP minions of Nicola Sturgeon because they have an appointment with the Supreme Court. So yesterday they started this, and today as well there's another session. They are marching towards the Supreme Court to get them to bypass Westminster and the UK Parliament and Downing Street to allow them to have a legitimate referendum, even though they literally just had one 10 minutes ago. But they don't accept the result. But on that note, let's see what they're actually talking about. So, Joanna Cherry. Joanna Cherry of the SNP says, this is yesterday, I'm at the Supreme Court today for the Indie Ref 2 case. If the UK government had any respect at all for Scottish democracy, this court hearing wouldn't be necessary. Excuse me, Joanna. Wasn't this you guys in 2014, only a few years ago, holding these posters and banners during the referendum that you had, saying one opportunity, a vote in a lifetime or once in a generation vote and referendum? We know that. We've said this so many times to you guys, but you clearly don't really listen to any of us. So that's one. But let's go to the rest of the rant of Joanna Cherry. Joanna says, at the 2021 Scottish election, the Scottish government was elected on a manifesto commitment to hold a second independence referendum. Last time that happened, 10 years ago in 2011, the UK government respected that mandate and entered into an agreement to put beyond doubt the legality of the independence referendum. No. Okay. You got that referendum in 2014 because there was that pressure that was finally happening after a long time. And David Cameron, as Prime Minister, said, okay, let's just get this over with. Let's double check to see if your people actually want to leave or not. And people in Scotland said no. So that was it. Nothing to do with that manifesto commitment. Because the Scottish Parliament elections and the power, the remit of Scottish Parliament is simply on domestic policies of Scotland. It's devolved administration. So even if you get every single MSP, member of the Scottish Parliament, to be SNP members, still not a mandate. That's not how it works. Mandate comes, you guys send your MPs to Parliament, to actual UK Parliament, the real Parliament. That's how you get your mandate. And the best thing to be fair, they are allowed to have SNP members, candidates, stand in every single seat. You can actually have your representative candidates in England and all the seats that we have. You can do it. Stand them everywhere. Do it. And if you manage to win the majority of MPs in Parliament, UK Parliament, then that's your mandate. You get a majority in the Scottish Parliament, that's not a mandate. That Parliament is about domestic policies, not constitutional matters. It's not about the whole of the Union. That's not how things work. Your country is still 50-50. Well, your country, they keep calling it country, obviously they're obsessed with that thing. You can't. This is a union. It's a union of nations, whether you like it or not. We have our 4 nations, we're still together. And actually, if you want to leave, the best thing to do for you guys, SNP, is to actually get a referendum and get the English to vote. Get the English and the Welsh and people in Northern Ireland. Get them to vote and you will get the result you want. People are sick and tired of the SNP crying, but that's a bad idea because there's still the majority of people in Scotland who do not want to leave. People get frustrated in England saying, oh, well, yeah, give us the vote and we'll kick him out. But that's not democratic because people in Scotland don't want to leave. That's a reality. What about the other chunk that want to stay in the Union? You need to shut down the SNP crybabies. She continues by saying, just imagine how English voters would have felt if in 2015 the EU had sought to block a referendum. She can't spell. Can you notice, she can't actually write. Okay, a referendum on the UK's EU membership after the elected Tory government with a mandate to hold one. Okay, again, let's just give them a lesson on constitution. 1. The UK Parliament and the general election is not just based on domestic policies, but it's also based on foreign policies and constitutional matters. So there was a mandate. 2. There's a difference between status quo and a complete new change, proactive change. Status quo for the UK was not membership of the European Union because we, by default, we're a nation. We're a sovereign nation that we entered the European Union in 1990. So the status quo by default, it was pre-EU, the United Kingdom on its own, that status quo. So that's different to currently what you say. Scotland, status quo, is by default Scotland inside the UK, the United Kingdom Union. So there is a slight difference. When you talk about mandate or blocking, the European Union had no right to block because we joined a club that actually had a treaty, and part of that treaty actually allowed you to leave. So we just triggered that article. That's all we did. There is no mechanism when it comes to Scotland and the United Kingdom, because by default you're in. Now, if you want to make a change, that's a proactive change. It's not going to status quo. Status quo was the UK leaving the European Union. That's all. I have to teach them this constitutional lesson because clearly they don't understand, or maybe they understand it but they don't care. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Share this video with all your SNP friends if you have any. And we're going to come back in half an hour. I'm going to talk to you guys about how GB News and Patrick Christie's on GB News managed to trigger one of the Just Stop Oil activists, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's going to be very entertaining. Subscribe to the channel. On my TC, and we are the media.